If you're comparing your outcomes to another person's outcomes on social media, you start to get lost. And now you think, okay, this guy is trying to make $1 million a year. That should be my goal too, because he's saying it makes his life better. But that's not always the case.
There is this tendency among people who get so fixated on their success being a monetary value.
Totally.
Right? So they're like, I only care how much money's in my bank account, and that defines my success as a human being.
Yeah.
That if you're broke, you are not successful.
Totally.
And so if your goal is to build character and not make money, then you don't really care about your sales pitch because you're just going to let as many people slam the door in your face.
Yeah, you're going for like rejection therapy.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was my great-grandpa, it's a quote from my great-grandpa, but he says, the day that I stop working is the day that I start dying. The past few days, I've slept like 5 hours, and I have done so much.
A lot.
And by the end of the day, I feel amazing.
The ambition and the drive from the other students in the classroom just rubbed off on me so much that I was like, man, like I needed to get my crap together. Like I needed to go out and grind. In their mind, they're trying to help you. Like he hasn't had sugar in a week, or like he's been working so hard and training so hard. He needs to take a day off. Like, so I'm gonna help him baking him chocolate chip cookies, which is a super nice gesture, right? And it's super thoughtful and it's very sweet.
There's nothing that will set you back more.
But there's nothing that will set you back more. Yeah. There's two edges to the sword of comparing yourself to other people. On one side, you can view it in the positive light, where it's like, when I compare myself to other people, I'm driven to accomplish more. Like, I have a competitor and I work super hard because I'm competing with this other person and this other business, or I have this friend and we're doing a challenge against each other to see who can lose the most weight. So it's driving me. And I think that's like a healthy competition, right? But there's an unhealthy aspect of comparison, and usually the way it's pitched is that we compare ourselves to other people on social media, right? So we see other people living amazing lives and we start to feel bad about ourselves because we're comparing our life to their life. And of course, their life is not as glamorous as it seems 9 times out of 10. And all these people are like, I made $20,000 this month doing drop shipping, or I'm gonna help you get into e-commerce, and you're swiping through all these reels and you're like, this person just got into shape, this person just made $1 million, this person is living the best life ever. And the human mind cannot comprehend all of that at once. Like it's too many ideas. And it's like, you have all these options in front of you and it's like, oh no, I need to jump into this, or I need to jump into this. And then you start to lose focus of what your own goal was. And then you get off social media and you're like, what am I supposed to do with my life? It's like, there's so many different things that I'm supposed to do. And you start to lose focus, and now you're comparing your goals to their goals, but you're on a different playing field. So I'll try to...
Sorry, there was a temperature warning on the camera.
Just our podcast is getting too fire. So it's overheating. So I'll see myself out.
Okay.
Let me recap this. The reason why I bring this up and just how overwhelming social media can be, especially for someone who's trying to figure out their identity and who they are and what they want to do with their life. You have all these people coming in to influence you, right? And to give you all these ideas of what your future could look like and what your business could look like. But you've got to realize that some of these people have very different goals than you have. So you're looking at this guy on social media and he makes $1 million a year doing this business, and like his life is so glamorous. He went to Dubai last week. Now he's in Miami and he drives a Lambo, and you're like, wow, like this guy's life looks amazing, right? He's like with all these girls. I want to do it. I want to be like him, right? But do you really? Like, is that really your goal? The issue is this guy's goal might be very different than yours, and his goal likely is to make as much money as possible, which very well could be your goal. Your goal could also be to raise a family while making as much money as possible. And that's a very different set of priorities, right? So if you're trying to set up your life in a way where you can eventually get married, for example, or have kids, or maybe not, maybe you want to pursue a different career path. If you're comparing your outcomes to another person's outcomes on social media, you start to get lost. And now you think, okay, this guy is trying to make $1 million a year. That should be my goal too, because he's saying it makes his life better. But that's not always the case. It's just that it's presented in such a way where you think this is the best path for me in my life. If your number one goal is to make as much money as possible, then, let's go down that road. If your number one goal is to find fulfillment and satisfaction in your job, let's look for a job and a lifestyle that's going to bring you fulfillment and satisfaction. And it's might sound like the same goal on the surface, but it's more nuanced than that.
One thing I want to add on to that just a little bit too is I think that there is this tendency among people who get so fixated on their success being a monetary value.
Totally.
Right? So they're like, I only care how much money's in my bank account, and that defines my success as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think that group of people starts to broadcast that out in the world. They start to get on social media and basically present this idea that if you're broke, you are not successful.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think that is horrendous.
Yeah.
That is really, really bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. And you're correlating your own self-worth with how much money you make, right? And if you just say that out loud, I'm sure everyone listening to this will say, oh no, like I don't do that. Like I know better than that. I know that I'm not tied to how much money I make. But if you're scrolling social media and seeing all these people that make more money and have more followers and they're a higher status, you do start to correlate it in your head. And you think, this person's better than me. Like this person has their life together and they're making more money and they have more followers and they've got these amazing relationships that you really don't know anything about. You don't know anything about their life. You don't know how happy they are.
One of the big things for me, I view my success not monetarily, but based on productivity. Because when I'm working, I'm living.
Yeah.
And I think it was my great-grandpa, it was a quote from my great-grandpa, but he says, the day that I stop working is the day that I start dying.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is my life motto. Because how true is that? Yeah. Because I base everything that I do on productivity. So I could be making money, sure, cool. But I also have to go to school. I also like to volunteer. I like to serve. I like to help.
Yeah.
I want people to know that I care about them. I build relationships. I try and make myself happy. And at the end of the day, my happiness and my joy comes from my success, which I view as my productivity.
Yeah.
As long as I'm consistently doing something for the betterment of other people, whether or not I'm making money from it, that is my success.
Yeah.
I'm accomplishing my goals because I'm being productive. I have something to do. Because I know that there's a lot of people that they occupy their time scrolling, right? Like you're just talking about scrolling reels, and I've fallen into this habit too, right? Like we just like to look, and we just like to see what people are up to and get new. Like sometimes I even like self-justify it as I'm just looking for inspiration. I'm looking for ideas or whatever. Yeah. But then eventually it starts to become, well, these people's ideas are better than mine, and then it starts to get discouraging. And so then you kind of stop, and then you snap yourself back into it. You go, you know what? No, I need to be productive.
Yeah.
And so I haven't scrolled reels in a fat minute.
And you feel so much better now that you're not on there all the time, right?
Right.
Looking at what all these other people are doing.
Yeah. And I feel genuinely uplifted because I am being productive, because I have myself doing things.
Yeah.
Like the past few days, I've slept like 5 hours and I have done so much.
A lot.
And by the end of the day, I feel amazing, and I wake up and I like actually have so much joy. And so I can get 5 hours of sleep and have a 19-hour work day where I'm productive. I'm doing school and I'm just networking with everybody that I can, and I'm happy and I'm doing fine.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned how you define success. And similarly, I would define success as how dedicated you are to achieving your goals and how much progress you're making. So people that are more successful will make more progress in their goals. And so for a lot of us, making money is a goal. So if we make more money, then technically we're achieving a goal. But I think that I heard this on a Formosi podcast recently. He said, what if your goal was to be the #1 video game player in the world, right? Then you would be playing video games all day. And you wouldn't be wasting your time. You wouldn't count it as unproductive. You count it as productive because you're working on the goal. The goal is to be the best video game player in the world, right? So you're being successful by playing video games for 16 hours a day. Now, for most of us, that's not the goal, right? Or you could say, my goal is to scroll reels for 10 hours a day. Okay, cool. Well, then you scroll reels for 10 hours a day, then you're achieving the goal. But that's not my goal, right? And so, again, it comes back to what is the goal? Like if you're scrolling reels for 10 hours a day and your goal is to be out working on other things, then you're not being successful.
I think it's an interesting concept, because I remember I was writing a paper in my Writing 150 class last semester.
Yeah.
And I was talking about, specifically, I was looking for a title for a page. And I included the word success. And my teacher says, okay, so what's success?
Yeah.
And I sat there and I was like, making a lot of money. And she goes, well, what if that's your definition of success and not someone else's?
Right.
And that's true. And that's so true. Yeah. And specifically, like I was thinking door to door in my head. I was like, The success in a door-to-door space would be making a lot of money.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't go for that. I mean, that's not a lot of people that don't go for that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people in general go out for the experience, the sales skills, build character, all that sort of stuff. And so if your goal is to build character and not make money, then you don't really care about your sales pitch because you're just going to let as many people slam the door in your face.
Yeah, you're going for like rejection therapy.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're looking for a character adjustment.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
Because if you're going for that, that's your goal and that's what your success is.
Yeah.
But for me, my goal will be defined, at least that the success in that instance will be defined by monetary value.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to success, I think we need to start encouraging each other by defining success for each other.
Yeah.
Like if I say you're not successful because you're not making money, that makes me a bad friend.
Yeah.
Because I need to say, what is your definition of success? You tell me, and then whenever you're working toward that, I can congratulate you because you're doing exactly what it is that you want or need to be doing successfully.
Yeah. And you touched on rejection there again. And let's say your goal was to go and get rejected every day for 4 months straight for the whole summer, right? And you came home at the end of the day and you were like, I just got rejected all day, right? And that was my goal. Then you were successful. And the other thing is, other people would perceive that as failure. And we talk a lot about failure and what a good teacher it is, but also how in turn it will lead to you being successful later, right? Because if you can get really good at just failing and then trying again and failing and trying again, then eventually it's going to lead to success. And so I don't see failure as unsuccessful, even though that's usually put in the same bucket.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I separate the word failure and loss.
Okay, yeah.
Because I believe that you can be going about your process, and let's say that you get to this step and it's a win or a lose. Let's say you lose.
Yeah.
You only fail in the end of the day if you let that discourage you from trying again.
Yeah.
Because you can be, let's say it's a baseball team, right? You have 162 games. You play one, and you lose, and you give up.
Yeah.
That's failure. But if you lose that game and say we're going to win the next 161 games, that's determination, which keeps you away from failure, but it doesn't make you a failure. You lost one time, right? Because you think about Michael Jordan, or you think about Steph Curry, or you think about LeBron James. How many games have each of them lost? Tons.
Yeah.
But they don't throw in the towel and flip the chair. I mean, maybe once or twice they get really upset.
Yeah.
And it discourages them.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they're going to give up because they know that they're the greatest people to shape the game. Yeah. And they know at the end of the day that they have the capacity within themselves to win.
Yeah.
And so they don't let those little losses discourage them and turn them toward failure.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like you're talking about, you take it and you let it teach you.
Yeah.
So if you can also take those things, like when you do lose, what did I mess up on? Oh, I let someone steal the ball from me because I wasn't dribbling the right way. You practice that simple dribbling or where you hold the ball or whatever it is. And that little thing keeps you out of that loss, which inevitably keeps you one step further away from failure because you're not even going to let yourself lose. Yeah, it's just funny.
Oh, here's the thing I want to touch on was the environment you put yourself in. So, and you can relate this to growing in any aspect of life. Or related to the gym, but your environment impacts you far more deeply than you realize. So I'll give you an example from my personal life. So I'm studying entrepreneurship now, and I just started this program last year. So at the fall semester, right? I come in to class, it's September, and I get to meet all the other entrepreneurship students at the school, right? We're all in a big class together. And the energy and like the ambition and the drive from the other students in the classroom just rubbed off on me so much that I was like, man, like I needed to get my crap together. Like I needed to go out and grind because there's all these other students that are way ahead of me in business and in life. I feel like I'm way behind, and this could be this is a point where I would say the comparison was positive because I was like, this is my goal. Like I want to be like these other students. I want to have my own business, and these other students do. And it pushed me so much harder to like just actually get the ball rolling and actually take action and start doing things. And we usually hear that your environment is important because the top 5 people that you surround yourself with, right? You become like those 5 people that you surround yourself with. But it's also like the media you look at So like the reels that you scroll, right? You think a little bit more like the people in the comments, right? Like you start to pick up the slang, or just the environment overall. Or even you start going to the gym and you haven't been in a few months, and you look around and you're like, everyone is in such great shape. Like, oh my gosh, like I need to get my stuff together. Like this guy's way more jacked than me. Like I'm so below average. Like what am I doing? Because you're in that environment where you're in an environment of people who are in incredible shape. So it's skewed. Like, that's not the general population. You're in an environment where people like to work out. So you're thinking to yourself, man, I'm so below average. And then you leave the gym and you go to the grocery store and you're like, man, like I'm so above average. Like, look at all these people. They're so out of shape. Like they're choosing crappy foods. Like, what are you doing? Like, wow. Like I feel really good about myself. So you can kind of use this to your advantage and put yourself in an environment that is going to actually uplift you, right? And push you to become better instead of making you feel comfortable, right? If you stay in an environment where you're comfortable and you feel like you're the best at what you do, like you're the best in your division or your department or in your friend group, you work the hardest, those people are just going to drag you down. Like it's much more likely that those friends drag you down than it is that you're going to bring them up to your level. It's really far more likely that you're going to drag you down. So changing your environment and putting yourself somewhere where you're like, wow, like I am the least skilled here, or I am I'm far less skilled than everybody else here. It's going to push you so much harder.
That is motivating, like 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really big tidbit. I remember I was going around, and I was actually on my mission. So this is kind of what makes me think about it, is that when you're a missionary, you have a very, very strict schedule.
Yeah.
You wake up at 6:30, you exercise for 30 minutes, you eat your breakfast, plan for 30 minutes, you study for an hour, and then you're out the door by 10, and you go about your entire day, and then you have an hour for lunch, an hour for dinner, 9 o'clock you're back in your apartment, 10:30 you're in bed again.
Yeah.
And it's like you do this and you're around 180 other people that are doing the exact same thing. And you see them every week and sometimes twice a week. And you're just in this environment of people that are living this really disciplined schedule. So after a year and a half or 2 years of living that schedule, you come back from your mission.
Yeah.
And you're living with people that don't do anything like that at all.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize, wow, the life I was living, it's not for me to really say if it was above average or below average, right? Because I mean, once again, maybe that definition could be subjective.
Yeah.
But according to my own standard, I believed that missionary schedule and that level of discipline was highly above average to the regular individual.
Yeah.
Just because I believe most people don't live with enough structure, I think everybody needs that kind of structure.
Yeah.
Being surrounded by like-minded individuals, I think that's the most important thing when it comes to this environment.
Yeah.
Is it doesn't necessarily have to make you above average, but it should help you accomplish what you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And so when we're going, like, to go back to what we were talking about earlier with success and it being subjective and you reaching your goals and accomplishing all this, if you want to be here, you got to surround yourself with other people that also want to be here.
Yeah.
Because you can't just expect to be here and always put yourself around people that just don't really care to be there. They want to just be here.
Yeah.
Because then you'll never actually get there.
Yeah.
Like you'll never be able to see that because everyone else around you is just satisfactory with being here. And especially because you're around them all the time, they're not going to like encourage you to get there. Right. Because they don't really care to see you there. Yeah. Because they think maybe you'll be too successful for them. Yeah. Or maybe you'll leave them in the dust and forget about them. And honestly, you might be better off if you did, right? Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's harsh, but if you're genuinely trying to accomplish something significant and change the world, you can't let yourself be surrounded by people that don't really care about that. Yeah.
People want you to do well, but not better than them. Yeah. That's when the jealousy hits. Like they'll cheer you on until you start to surpass them, and then they'll think, "Oh, whoa, slow down," you know. And again, where you're saying you're up here and you're trying to get to the next level, and all your friends and your family, man, like family is a huge one for most of us, right? They're down here and they're thinking, like, "Oh, you're doing so good already. Like, you're in such great shape already. You look amazing. Like, just like, you know, here, have a cookie." Oh man, the amount of times you hear that in your life. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure you can relate. And it's like, "Oh, I'm good." And they're like, no, have it. Because they're trying, in their mind, they're trying to help you. They're trying to think, "Oh, this kid is starving himself. Like, he's so hard on himself. He needs to relax a little bit." Like, he hasn't had sugar in a week, or like he's been working so hard and training so hard. He needs to take a day off. Like, so I'm gonna help him by helping him rest and by baking him chocolate chip cookies, which is a super nice gesture, right? And it's super thoughtful, and it's very sweet. And I totally appreciate when people do that, but
there's nothing that will set you back more.
But there's nothing that will set you back more. Yeah, and they don't realize how much they're hurting you. It's like you're trying to go up here, and they're trying to drag you down.
And it's they're not trying to.
They're not trying to, but they are inadvertently dragging you down. You know, they think that they're helping you achieve the goal, but they're literally doing the exact opposite of helping you achieve the goal. So they think that they're helping you, and maybe in the moment they are, but in reality they're just dragging you down. So they'll say, oh, like, you're in such great shape already. Like, what more could you ask for? Or you're so skilled at what you do. Like, you're the leading sales rep, for example. Like, you're making the most money. Like, you should just like relax a little bit, right? Like, you don't need to push yourself so hard. Or you're the best in your company. Like, you're already the highest position. Why are you working so hard? There's no other promotions. It's like, the goal is not to get promoted. Like, the goal is to help more people and to serve more people. Or the goal is not to be in better shape than you. The goal is to be in better shape than I am right now. Like, it's me against me. So other people will start to compare themselves and say, oh, you look so much better than me already. Like, you're doing so much better than me. It's like, it's not about me versus you.
If the goal was to be better than you,
yeah, I already did it
a long time ago.
Yeah, like, I already, like, we already did that goal. Yeah. Yeah, I would have quit a long time ago. Or people, you look at like the top champions in the world, and it's like the top like swimmer, the top bodybuilder, athlete, musician. It's like they are already so good at what they do. They're like number one in the world, and you're thinking, oh, they should like, you know, take their foot off the gas for a little bit. Like, if their goal was just like to be very good but not improve all the time, they would have quit forever ago. You know. So yeah, totally different mindset. And yeah, again, like, if the goal was just to be better than someone else, you would have quit as soon as you were better than them. But that's not the goal for most people, at least not for myself.
Right.
It's just me versus me.
Because you can always be better at someone else at something.
Yeah.
But you can always be better.
Yeah.
You can always hit a new PR.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about like being athletic, because nobody is ever in the most unbeatable shape. Like, you can always beat a record. Like, I literally just saw on Instagram this kid who ran a half marathon in 58 minutes or something. And I couldn't even believe that. I didn't know speed like that existed.
Yeah.
But before he came along, whoever held the record was probably like, they probably still didn't think that they had like unbeatable speed.
Yeah.
They were probably like, people are just going to get faster and because like, think about what the PR was before that. Let's say it was an hour, right? That person's probably like, someday somebody's gonna do it. Like, or like, if I could have ran each mile 2 seconds faster, that would have shaved 26 seconds off my time. Yeah. Or if I could have ran each mile 5 seconds faster, that would have changed my time by a minute, right? And so it's like, if somebody can just work 5 seconds harder for 13 miles, then that changes everything. And these people that are doing it know that it can be done because they've done it.
Yeah.
And this is why the people that are really the most successful will always say the exact following words: you can do anything you put your mind to. Because they did.
Yeah.
It's exactly what they did.
Because they've actually done it.
They've actually done it. And that's why, like, I was talking to this guy on Instagram, and he won a Golden Door Award last year selling for Aptiv. He sold 650,000 plus in service revenue. And I DM'd him. I was like, how'd you do it? And he basically just told me like a list of 3 things. And I was like, that's awesome. I was like, I want to do that this year. I'm going to be a rookie. And he's like, you can. Like, I actually believe in you. And I was like, that's rare. Like, I feel like that's kind of rare for people that, at least, let's say somebody that didn't sell 650,000. Let's say it's someone that sold like 230. And I tell them that. They're not going to say you can do that because they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they're
like, that's impossible.
Right, because they couldn't do it.
Well, it's impossible for now.
Right.
Until it's not anymore, until somebody does it. And then you think, oh, it actually is possible.
Right. And I'm not trying to beat that person. I'm trying to beat me. And of course, I have nothing to base myself off of. But if somebody who's done it can tell me I can too, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, actually, though,
super real.
It makes me think about when I was on 75 Hard, my 75th day was Thanksgiving Day.
Uh-huh.
And it's, you know, my diet was stay organic as possible. No desserts.
Okay.
And then I look at the table, covered in pies, slices.
Yeah.
There's like 60 pieces of pie on the table. And personally, I like pumpkin pie. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I also like apple pie, you know. And I'm like, I've been a big desserts guy. So like when I see desserts, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
I like desserts,
Totally.
you know.
Yeah.
So in that moment, it's like everybody telling me, come on,
Yeah.
day 75,
Yeah.
day 75, celebrate.
Yeah.
You know. I even put a poll up on my story, and I was like, I've made it. Today's day 75. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. And I was like, should I eat a slice of pie tonight or wait till tomorrow? Majority of people
Just eat it today.
eat it today.
Yeah.
They said eat it on the 75th day.
Is that the mindset that those people have?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, just celebrate.
You made it this far. Celebrate.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving.
You've already done so much. Like, you're fine. Like, just do it.
Right. But then one DM changed my life, honestly, and I'll never forget this. My buddy Clay, he DMs me and he says, don't do it, dude. Like, you made it this far, and like, if you do it, you'll look back on this day and you'll just say to yourself, dang, I didn't really do it. Like, I didn't really do 75
Yeah.
because I ate that piece on Thanksgiving. I went 74 and 7/10 or 8/10 or whatever it was. But it's just because, you know, that little message, you know, you didn't do 100%.
Yeah.
And that's my fear. And I think sometimes people are willing to put in 98%, or people are capable of doing 98% and not knowing where that 2% is.
Yeah.
And then that's why they miss out. And in sales, we call this like a +5 thing, like a +5 rule.
Okay.
If you can do this, you'll get 5 more sales over the course of the summer. If you can do this, you'll get 5 more sales over the course of the summer. So let's say it's 10 things, 10 different things you can master. By the end of the summer, it's 50 more sales, right? And so it seems like a little thing, and it's like, oh, 5 sales over the whole summer if I learn how to do this, I mean, that sucks. But at the end of it, it's like, if you're selling contracts for $1,000, that's $50,000 in service revenue.
Right. And it starts to add up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compound.
Yeah. It starts to compound. Yeah. But this goes back to your environment. And I see this a lot of the times in relationships, like usually with a significant other. It's the person who loves you the most, and you are dedicated to that person above everybody else. But it's a double-edged sword again, because the impact is also stronger than anybody else. And if you are in a relationship where somebody thinks that you're helping you, and like, for example, they're telling you, oh no, you should just eat the slice of the pie, right? Like, you've been working so hard, and you're thinking in your head, like, you're just tempting me right now. Like, it's as if you're tempting me to break my streak or to not achieve the goal. And so choosing someone who actually knows what your goals are and they can align with those goals to actually push you to achieve them, it's going to help you so much more in the long run, right? And they think that they're helping you in the moment, right? It's like, oh no, just take the day off. I mean, I've been in relationships too where it was like that. It's like, well, you look so great already. Like, it's not about how I look. It's really not even about the workout. It's about being consistent with the workout and doing it even when I don't want to do it. There's part of your brain that grows specifically when you do things that you don't like doing. Like, it doesn't matter if you actually learned a new skill or if you actually built more muscle or if you actually improved anywhere else, except for the fact that you did something you did not want to do. So like, it could be as simple as like, every morning I have a normal warm shower, right? And then for the last like minute of the shower, I turn it to cold.
Wim Hof?
Yeah. And we live in Utah, right? It's like 10 degrees outside,
Yeah.
right? So you turn the water to cold, it's gotta be like 40 degrees. It's like freezing cold water. And sure, there's health benefits from it, but it's not even the health benefits so much as it's the fact where I have to make a conscious decision to go from, this is comfortable and I'm warm right now and this feels great and I can just get out of the shower, right? I'm gonna go walk to class outside. It's like 10 degrees outside. I'm already gonna get the cold exposure, right? So I don't really need the cold water. Point is, I have to actually turn the faucet to cold and then like just bask in it for like a minute. And it's the fact that I don't want to do that. Like, I still don't want to do it. This morning I didn't want to do it. Tomorrow morning I'm not going to want to do it. So sure, there's other health benefits from it, but it's the fact that I'm doing something that I really just don't feel like doing every morning. And this could be you going to the gym when you don't want to do it. It's really, it's not so much about the benefit of the workout. It's the benefit of you just became stronger and more mentally resilient because you went to the gym when you didn't want to. Even if the workout sucked, even if you had to cut it short because you threw up or you passed out because you were sleep deprived or something like that. The fact that you walked in there and you warmed up and you put weight on the bar and you did a set of squats, even if it sucked, the fact that you did that, you just got stronger because of that.
Yeah, I remember for a good stage of my mission, It was actually the very end of my mission. For the last like 12 weeks of my mission, I did that every day, the cold shower.
Yeah.
For the last it's actually really cool. This guy, Ray Bezant, he was a really inspiring guy. But he taught me, he like told me about this method. I would take cold showers here and there.
Yeah.
But he told me about this method. And so I was just like, okay, I'll just like start doing it. And I'd let it like just all hit my head. And I would just feel the rush of blood to my head. And I felt like mentally I was just sharper.
Yeah.
Like my studies were improved. Everything was just better.
Yeah.
You know, it just felt more powerful. And so I think that it kind of became this enabling part of my routine where, you know how people have like self-affirmations where they like look at themselves and they'll say this and this and this. It's another one of those things that like unlocks that piece of your brain that starts to tell you that you're capable.
Yeah.
And I think once this goes back to the vision. So tying this all, wrapping it all back together, when you get a glimpse of what you can accomplish, everything changes.
Yeah.
Because once you finally start to see that you can do this little thing, you feel so much more powerful. And you're totally uplifted. And that honestly sets the tone for everything that you do the rest of the day. It's because you just like it's those little wins. You go and you win the day. You get up on time. You go and you work out. You come home. You're sweating, drenching in sweat because you just grinded in the gym. And then you hop in the shower. After you walked home sweaty and the wind is beating against you and it's cold, you get in your house and you get in the shower and then you turn it cold for like a minute or two. And then you just let that change you. Because then when you get out, that's where the benefit is too, because then you're warm.
Yeah.
You're warm.
You are warm. Yeah.
And then there's extra satisfaction. I made a good, I made a difficult decision, but I made a good decision.
Yeah.
It was a positive decision.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, you just feel so motivated.